When I decided to quit my full-time job and take a chance on my own art, I didn't know if any of this would work out. I wish I could tell you at this point I have it all figured out, but years later, I'm still figuring it out as I go. Because of AI, art commissions have pretty much decreased to zero in the recent years. Now, since I have all this time, I might as well do something fun with it. A lot of you might know me as a concept artist who started YouTube, but before I was a concept artist, I was in art school, and that art school was for learning oil painting. And in this video, I wanna put down the tablet for a while and just get my oils out and see if I can still do it. I'm normally pretty bad with gifts, and last Christmas, because I didn't have a budget to buy anything, I just promised my other man that I would paint one of his dogs as a gift. And he got to choose which dog it is, and that's the subject for this entire video. This also gave me a deadline, so I thought that this is a win-win situation. At the end of this process, he will have a new painting that he can put on his wall, and I will have finally done an oil painting like I've promised myself to do for years and years now. I originally planned to use a canvas half this size because honestly I've only been able to do like very small traditional art pieces, like for example this oil painting that you can see here. It's very small. But after doing a lot of sketching, first on paper and then on iPad, I realized that the amount of detail that I'm going to be needing in the face area, that sort of small detail stuff, I'm just no good at it, and I'm going to need more space. I thought it would be kind of funny to have a painting of this little dog Henry in a massive scale, so that the painting is almost bigger than the dog itself, to make him look like this king of dogs, which he definitely is. So to match his ego, I think that the painting being a little bit larger kind of works in favor of his personality. But seeing this massive sized canvas and knowing the amount of work that I have now ahead of me, it's a little bit intimidating. But let's just get started and see how this goes. For sketching, I made several drawings first to familiarize myself with the three-dimensional shape. All of that information would be useful later on when it came to painting, but the final digital sketch is honestly kind of crude. Since I knew that I would be drawing that same drawing for a second time on the canvas, I wanted there to be a little bit of creative freedom on how to do the details and how to design visual appeal in the drawing process. The green lines you see here are the digital sketch lines. I have a cheap projector, this one, that I have used a few times for planning paintings. If I'm completely honest, I haven't done much painting with it, so it's nice to get some use out of this finally, because considering the cost of this projector, it's still a big investment, considering that I have done basically just a few paintings with it. I know my teachers who taught me oil painting in art school would be super proud of all this prep work and planning, but I'm going to be honest. All of this planning and sketching, I didn't do it just because I wanted to be well prepared for the painting. A big part of this was just me trying to eliminate all of the possible ways that the painting could fail, because I was so scared of starting the painting in the first place. So I was almost like at the edge of a pool, just holding onto the edge without doing any actual swimming, because I was so scared that once I started painting that I wouldn't be able to paint anymore, and that it would just feel like I have lost all those skills that I thought that I had. But for what it's worth, like having all of this planning, it really does help. There's a reason why art teachers always say that you should do a lot of sketching and studies, because it does help. What is so difficult about oil paint is the way that the paint behaves. It's a very tactile process of pushing and pulling the paint. You don't just put it on the canvas and leave it there. It's almost like sculpting the color. There are also so many variables that affect the way that pigment behaves that each segment really has to be painted in its own way. It's intimidating, but it's also kind of the best thing ever about this whole thing. I have quite a tight deadline for this painting. It needs to be done in about a week. After a few days of painting, I think I'm getting a little bit of my confidence back. It definitely helps that the piece is divided in these very clear color areas. That allows me to have a very custom palette for the day that I'm painting, and I can just focus on one color section, like dark blues or getting those orange areas painted. With a limited palette like this, it just helps me so much with organizing and mixing the right pigments and adjusting those based on what I already have on the canvas. Because color is relative, and in this case, just comparing that one single hue range with the other variations of that same hue range. It's a simple thing, but the limitation makes this process a lot easier. And it definitely helps that I have such a good boy as a subject. Henry is a Basenji, and I always call him a brave little goat, because apparently Basenjis don't bark, they can't bark, but they do make these sort of like really cute goat noises when they are upset over something. Henry's favorite thing to do is to sit on the balcony and keep surveillance over the entire area. This is serious business for him. He has this sort of serious, kind of worried, but also slightly angry and judging expression on his face. Like he's seeing something that he's a little bit worried about, and he doesn't quite approve. That's the mode that I wanted to capture in this painting. So when it's hanging on the wall, he can just watch what people are doing and silently judge them for all eternity. He also wrestles Teddy a lot. This is Teddy, and even though he's the size of a small horse, he's the puppy of this herd. This one is Will, and he's the oldest dog. There is already a really cool watercolor portrait of Will, so that's why Henry was chosen for this portrait. I'm kind of loving this painting process at this point so much that I might want to paint the Ridgebacks too. Since I'm used to shooting top-down tutorials here on this desk, capturing a vertical physical canvas on camera is a bit of a new adventure for me. If you have any tips for filming this stuff, I'd love to hear them in the comments. I really do want to get better at doing videos like these and show you the process the best way possible. So if you have any requests or tips, please let me know in the comments, and I will try to make this channel the best version that it can be. Also, how are you feeling about me doing oil paintings in the first place? I know that this is quite different than what I have normally done on this channel, but if you have any thoughts on that, please let me know. The scariest part in this painting process are definitely the small details, so I'm kind of pushing them to the last moments of the painting. I'm almost avoiding them, and I'm sort of horrified how I will do when I get to that part. My hands are super shaky, and honestly, there's not a lot that I can do about that. When I'm putting down these eye details, I honestly just stop breathing completely until the brush was off the canvas. Same with the damn whiskers. I bought one of these dagger brushes that I've never used before, but even this I think was way too thick, so I gave it 3 haircuts to get the brush thin enough for the whisker lines. I don't want to say digital painting is easy, because no painting is easy when you really think about it. But with this painting, I've been exposed to new kinds of risks. The biggest risk of all here is that a traditional painting can just fail. It can be just terrible. And I've already promised this as a gift for somebody that I care about. So obviously I want it to be a valuable thing that they appreciate and not something that is just a burden. So that is constantly on the back of my mind when I'm doing this. It's like, I don't want it to fail. And when you're painting, that's a really bad mindset to be in, because you have to have this sort of fool's arrogance, I guess, to paint with confidence. I really wanted to make sure that it's something that is worth keeping, not just something that takes up wall space. For all the moments that seemed like I can't do this, or that it feels super scary to even try, the other side of that mountain always felt 100% worth it. Or maybe because of the risk, I'm so excited for every small win. I started to get my muscle memory back for how to rotate the brush. It feels like that old me from art school is still there somewhere, and he hasn't forgotten those little things. For example, when I'm checking the labels of my paints to know how they need to be mixed, all of that stuff from pigment material lectures was still somewhere deep in my brain to use for this painting. I don't quite have the words for this, but I've just been so happy for every small piece of progress. There's been a lot of dancing around this painting, and I don't mean this as some sort of figure of speech. I mean like literal actual dancing in this small cramped space, because I've been so happy that sometimes when a thing goes right, I do a little dance around the painting, just because I am so excited that I can't contain myself. Every evening before I go to bed, I sort of peek into the painting room just to see a glimpse of it. Not just to see what I should do next, but I just want to be in the presence of the painting because it excites me and I can't wait to get back to it. Maybe that sounds silly, but that's really just excitement. I've been so excited to paint again, and it just feels genuinely new in a way that painting hasn't felt for me in a while. I'm happy about the way that the painting is turning out at this point, but I'm even more happy about the way that the painting process itself is making me feel. I guess I have quite a lot of that sort of optimistic arrogance of an artist because I did set the bar quite high for myself when I was doing the design for this painting. And maybe setting myself that sort of a big challenge is not a great way to ease myself back into oil painting. I wanted this portrait to capture a very specific trait of Henry, but I also wanted there to be this theatrical line that my art teachers said my paintings sometimes have. They said it back then as a critique at first, but during the school years, I think I won them over in that this is a thing that I don't need to change about my art. Now that you know this about me, you can probably see that it's in all of my paintings, in all of my digital paintings as well. The color design in this painting, I think it shows my years in digital art. I think if I had kept painting with oils through all these years, I wouldn't have this sort of bright, graphic brushstrokes sometimes. But I think that confidence and that whole look comes from my experience as a concept artist. And it's not something that I'm ashamed of in any way. I think it's just makes the painting look like my painting. I guess more than anything, I want this video to inspire you to try something new. All that planning and fear that I had in the beginning, I think that just shows me that I had no idea how much I would enjoy actually doing this. I was just trying to avoid it until the very last second. Yes, you can mess up in a major way when you take risks like these, especially with traditional art. But that exposure to possible failure, that just makes the small wins feel so much better when they happen. And once I got the ball rolling, it was the best experience ever. I really wanted to just keep going. It would have been so easy to just keep painting forever and ever, but I had to let the painting go. And it almost felt like sad to let it go, but at the same time, now I feel like I have made something that is a good gift that makes me like sort of feel good about giving it away. If a painting makes you feel like yourself, that's the best thing that I can say about this process. It made me feel like myself again. I'm Mikko, and if you want to see more videos like these, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Henry, sit down. Sit. Henry, good boy.